Bishop Sheen today with Allan Smith here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and over the last couple of weeks, we've been diving into, of course, the timeless wisdom of Archbishop Sheen with Allan Smith, kind of all about being a father, whether that's an actual father or maybe a spiritual father. And Sheen always has something to say about us. So without further ado, good morning, Allan.
Hey, good morning, Keith. It's always good to be here every Thursday morning. And, we're getting ready for that great Hallmark holiday of Father's Day. And I just love that last segment with Debbie and Adam and the coach. I love the coach, and I think it's just, again, these memories of fathers. And, of course, with Fulton Sheen, we think of the priestly life. We have hopefully a couple priests in our life over the years that have, made a mark. Again, we celebrate Father's Day, and I think we will pay some attention to the priests that have been in our lives. It's a natural, and yet they're the unsung heroes, I think, sometimes, these priests, and yet let us remember them on Father's Day especially. But Fulton Sheen, I think what he wanted to do was to say to all men, you have this fatherhood trait to you. You're made for this. And I think this is the struggle in society, is like to say, I don't know if I was cut out to be to lead my family in prayer. I don't think I was cut out to, be that example of, I don't want people to see me on my knees praying. I don't I just, that's not my role, because that's the lie of society. Again, the devil is a liar and a thief. And so he wants to rob us of so many things. And of course, he wants to rob us of this great position that God has given us. We mentioned last week about when we're baptized, we receive this triple grace of, becoming priest, prophet, and king. And people always say, really? Yeah, really. When you are baptized, you have this great mission. It's a co-mission, really, with God. But you take this role of priest, prophet, and king. And so I think that's what we started to just talk about last week. Men kind of embracing that, saying, okay, but now where do I begin? Where do I start? All of these things. And I think, in the last segment, there was some good proposals, some ideas. And, I think what I like to always do is to start with prayer. Mm-hmm. And I think this is when I hear, wives not complain, but make comments. They say, I just wish my husband or my fiance would pray, like lead in prayer. And, I was just watching my grandson in his Little League baseball. It was so much joy there. And as a grandfather, watching the activity. But I saw that mentorship of the coaches teaching the players how to hit the ball, how to run the bases, how to catch the ball. And yet it's similar, I think, in the spiritual life. You have to start somewhere. Prayer is not something you become excellent in immediately. It takes practice, and we need that encouragement. And so I say to the ladies listening, encourage the man in your life to say, hey, you lead the prayer. Or we'll gather the children together and say, you know what, Daddy's going to start. He's going to have the opening prayer. He's going to begin with the sign of the cross. And it's that team effort, just as this team of coaches. We're in this together. But the men have to take their position in praying. And so this is, again, one of these things that is a good starting point. And, I was sharing with my men's group just a little while ago, we always have this, I double dog dare you, these moments, say, I dare you to do this. Well, my friend Michael double dog dared me this one thing. He says, I double dog dare you to get on your knees every night before you slip in underneath the covers. Before you go to bed, you can't get into your comfy bed until you drop down onto your knees. and say a short prayer, thanking God for the day. And that's always been my thing for about 40 years. I accepted his double dog dare to get on my knees every night before I get into my comfy bed. And it's worked wonders. My children sometimes see me praying by my bedside. Of course, my wife, my good wife, sees me praying, but it's a sincere prayer. But it was that little double dog dare of that little thing. Just get on your knees. And I double dog dare everyone who's listening today to make this little pact with God that you won't get under the covers until you drop down on your knees and say that little prayer. It's amazing. It's amazing, not just for fathers, but for everyone. And so I guess that's my opening commentary today.
I love it. No, that's great. It's one of those things as a father, trying to get your children, I don't want to say amped up to pray, but, especially when it comes to the rosary, which is, it's a long prayer, can be challenging with little ones who have a very low attention span and they're just bouncing all over the place. So this is a nice way to kind of show that, a prayer doesn't have to be this long, exhaustive sequence.
Right. But, I think in the last segment, we talked about these examples
Mm-hmm.
and, the examples fathers can give. And I think in my own life, I mean, my good dad would wake up at 5 in the morning. He would put on the coffee, a nice percolated coffee, and the house had a beautiful aroma. But he went to Holy Mass. We knew that our dad was going to pray for my 11 brothers and sisters and me, and of course, my mom. But he was a man of prayer. But we saw that example. He's getting in the car early, like we're not even dressed for school yet, and my dad's already on the road going to Holy Mass. And so it's that beautiful example that fathers can give to their children. My father leading the rosary on his knees. Again, those are things still in my memory. And so beautiful examples. So I think this is what I try to say is the children are watching, people are watching, but still have that holy example. And so I think that's the idea is get a plan together, get a plan. But we need to, of course, make prayer the focus. And I think, I've been quoting from the book, The Priest is Not His Own, because I really
Mm-hmm.
believe it's a manual for men. Men are struggling with their role of being the leader of what we like to say the domestic church, the church at home. And, people have asked me, are you a priest? And I respond, yes, I am a priest, but of a small flock. I have 3 children and, of course, a good wife, and that's my church. That's my little domestic church, but that's where we grow, where we're planted. And I'm just trying to do that. But again, the idea is to pray. And Fulton Sheen in the book, The Priest is Not His Own, talks a lot about prayer and gives those holy examples. He'll say, let's talk about a holy hour. Talk about what prayers are you going to pray during the day? Are you going to read the Bible? Are you going to pray your rosary? Are you going to maybe visit the church and sit with Jesus? And I think this is a great, I want to say, life lesson is to say, do you want to sit with Jesus through the day? Is he part of your family? Does he live with you? Does he, commiserate with you? Does he share your joys? But is he with you? As fathers, have we included that? We said, yeah, we have 3 children, or we have a dog, we have a cat, but we also have Jesus who lives with us too. But there's that whole focus on prayer. We're going to keep talking to God, and I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to show you how. And the children pick up on that. They really do. So, again, the priest is not his own, talking about the priest and prayer. And to some degree, the priest and preaching. And I remember one time a priest said to me, I want to challenge you fathers and you husbands out there that you have to come up and make a homily for your good wife and your children because you are the preacher of your home. And we all went home going, I don't I don't like what that priest just said. But I had to go home and think about it and say, yeah, I have this role of preaching and teaching because God's given me this grace to preach and teach. And so as, Father John or Father Timothy will prepare his homily through the week to preach, are we preparing these little lessons for those in our life that we love and we want to get to heaven? So there's a sense of preaching and praying, and Fulton Sheen talks about that in the book, The Priest Is Not His Own. So again, just a great manual, and we'll continue to unpack it over the next couple of weeks, because we're going to spend the month of June talking about fatherhood. But again, taking your position as priest to be more priestly, but again, focus today on prayer and some preaching and that holy example of fathers that have come before us, that have showed us how to get on our knees, get on our knees and to pray and to humble ourselves. I think some of the most beautiful fathers I've seen are the humble fathers, the fathers that are like St. Joseph, hidden but strong, And again, we have to go to Joseph to be that holy example. We as fathers represent God the Father. We're that mirror image so that people see God as a loving father. And of course, good St. Joseph, a great foster father, but again, a mentor for all men, because he was a man of prayer and of course, a man of action. So, so many things. But again, looking forward to continuing this conversation as we journey together to know that God the Father loves us, and he wants us to take our position as priests in our families and as fathers too. Even though we may not father children, we can all be fatherly, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, we've got big shoes to fill, but by the grace of God, we can certainly answer the call to be better fathers, like you said, as actual fathers or spiritual fathers. But thank you so much, Allan. It's always great to have you every single Thursday. For those that are wanting to see more of Allan Smith, make sure to go to bishopsheentoday.com or holyfacemiracle.com. Links are in the show notes for you. And that essentially wraps up Morning Joy, where truth matters. Now, it's a very special week right now. Coming up next, we're going to have Toya Hall and Dave Palmer coming up on the Guadalupe Radio Network, starting off day 4 of this summer Share-a-thon. It's a big matching gift hour, so if you're listening on the GRN, stay tuned. It's going to be a very exciting day. For those listening everywhere else, hey, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern, right here on Morning Joy, where truth matters. Until then, though, hey, God bless. Make it a joyful day. Make it a joyful Thursday, and we'll see you.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.